And so I said to myself, well, why not do 3 tabs simultaneously? And Claude said to me, great idea. Let's do it. And so then I started to think to myself,
why not do 10,000?
I said, not quite that far. I said, why not do 5?
Yeah.
I logged back in and they told me, we have detected that you
unusual activity
are using automated tools to browse LinkedIn. And we'd like you to acknowledge our terms of service and tell us in the affirmative that you will no longer do this. And if not, there will be repercussions.
Oh. And what did your agent say on your behalf?
Claude said, we've got to be more careful next time. Hi, and welcome to GeekWire. I'm GeekWire co-founder Todd Bishop.
And I'm GeekWire co-founder John Cook.
We are coming to you from Seattle, where we get to report each day on what's happening around us in business, technology, and innovation. What happens here matters everywhere, and every week on this show, we talk about some of the most interesting and important stories and trends in the news. Welcome back from your trip overseas.
Had a great time. Lots of football, lots of pints. Can't complain.
We're actually going to be talking about that a little later on as it relates to the world of transit and the things that you experienced there that we're now experiencing here in Seattle, maybe a decade later. So
we're very advanced here in Seattle.
Stick around for that. Plus, I want to talk a little bit about a transition on Microsoft's Copilot team, what it means for the future of Microsoft in AI. And yes, John, I do have a GeekWire trivia question, and it's on one of our favorite topics over the years. So
I can't wait.
I want you to stick around for that. But first, last chance, we should mention GeekWire's AI Summit, Agents of Transformation, is coming up on March 24th. That is next Tuesday. There are still a few tickets left to join us on the afternoon of Tuesday, March 24th at Block 41 in Seattle. We've got representatives of Amazon, Microsoft, OpenAI. John, I've been prepping for these sessions. In fact, I just finished the prep call for the session with Vijay Raji of OpenAI. And I can tell you, this is going to be a great event. I am really excited about it.
Very excited for that session as well as the other sessions. So yeah, we've got a great lineup. So come on out. There are tickets still available. Go to geekwire.com/events to grab your ticket.
All right. I got to say, this was the jaw dropper of the week for me. Amazon is making a phone.
Again.
And it's not 2014.
We've been here before, right?
We have been before. Reuters reported this morning that Amazon is working on a phone, a new smartphone, codenamed Transformer, within its devices and services unit. And this actually continues the thread of a story that GeekWire originally broke. A couple of years ago, we got a tip, and I chased it down and confirmed that Jay Allard of Microsoft, Xbox, and yes, Zune fame had joined Amazon.
Is that fame?
Infamy.
Yes.
Xbox fame,
yes.
Zune infamy, had joined Microsoft's devices and services business, working under Panos Panay, the head of Kindle and Alexa and all the other devices that Amazon does, and their satellite business too, which is interesting in this context as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Reuters had this scoop on Friday morning. The phone is envisioned as a mobile personalization device that syncs with Alexa and connects customers to Amazon services throughout the day. And this is interesting. Of course, AI integration is a key focus, and it could potentially eliminate the need for traditional app stores in the way that they're envisioning it. I've got a lot to say about this, John. I've got a lot of history that I can unpack in terms of Jay Allard and Microsoft, and things like Microsoft's ill-fated Courier project back in the day, but I will avoid the deep dive to start with and just ask you, what do you think about this idea that Amazon, which famously had one of the biggest flops in smartphone history in the Fire Phone, which lasted about 14 months and ended up causing a $175 million write-down. What do you think about the fact that they're going to apparently try this again?
Well, Amazon's very good at failing and then coming back and reimagining things.
Yes.
They don't give up, so they're very persistent in that regard. what was one of the original names for Amazon? Wasn't it going to be relentless.com or
Yes.
something? And they still own that domain. We should check that out.
Yes. It
Yeah,
was
they're relentless.
Relentless. And then there was Cadabra.
Right.
Which got changed because it sounded to people on the other end of the line like cadaver. At any rate.
Anyway, let's get back
Yes,
into the phone.
they are
No,
relentless.
They are relentless, so it's not a surprise that they're still trying this. I think one of the things that stood out, and this was a jaw dropper to me, I did not see this one coming. I think what's interesting here is the fact that Amazon is still smarting from this era of getting passed over in the mobile revolution, and they're still trying to figure out how to compete there. The other thing that stands out to me here that I think is interesting is it seems to me under the Andy Jassy era, they're all about trimming and efficiency and cutting projects and not doing the wild experimentation that you saw in the Jeff Bezos era that led to the Fire Phone and led to these things. And it seems to me like there's big bets on AI that they're doing and AWS, but like hardware just seems like a complete curveball for them. And I guess this is why it was so surprising to me, because this seems like a Jeff Bezos era experiment, go try something totally offbeat and crazy that's way outside of your realm of your traditional business. It just seems like Jassy's been much more buttoned up, efficient, trimming, trying to maximize the profits on the key businesses that they are building, whether that's Prime Video or AWS or what have you. And so that really surprised me. We should say here, sounds like it's very much in the experimentation phase. So, and the Reuters report even said this actually might not come to fruition.
Right. And Amazon is not commenting. I reached out directly, and it was a quick, not saying anything on this one, which tells you there's probably something there, but perhaps it's very early, to your point.
But they didn't hire Jay Allard just to come over there and hang out and shoot the breeze
with Panos.
With Panos, like he's working on something, and if this is the thing he's working on, then that's pretty interesting.
It is. Now, your characterization of it as them kind of smarting still over the smartphone, passing them by, I think it's important to understand that this is not simply them revisiting the era of the iPhone and Android winning. I think what this is them saying devices are going to be important in a different way going forward. And in fact, it's not so much about the smartphone. And I wonder even how much this will be a phone per se.
Yeah.
Because you've got other companies. You've got OpenAI collaborating with Johnny Ive on a device prototype. You've got Apple and Google and Meta developing AI-enabled glasses and wearables. And so this is kind of a new category of device in some ways. And perhaps the notion of it being a phone is more of a misnomer. And
so who really? I mean, if you think about a phone as a traditional device used to communicate verbally to one another, almost nobody uses it that way, right?
Right.
I mean, they're a small computer you carry around.
Exactly.
I mean, you do have some legacy players here in Apple and Samsung that, I mean, the rub is that they really haven't innovated that much on their devices in the last 5-8 years or.
That's a good point. Not only have their devices been incremental upgrades for the most part, they're not the big breakthrough that you would have seen with the original iPhone, certainly. But also, those are two companies, and again, people would argue with this, they are not at the forefront of AI.
Right.
They're not the companies that are going to be mentioned in the realm of OpenAI and Anthropic and Microsoft and even Amazon.
So there's an opportunity. And I think that's what Amazon and others are probably seeing here is that you have some entrenched players that have their relationships maybe with the existing carriers, the T-Mobiles and AT&Ts and Verizons of the world. And if you can disrupt that relationship through maybe another network that comes into play and you upset the entire app ecosystem, which pays a lot of the bills for Apple, by bypassing that, then there's an opportunity here that I'm sure some smart business people are trying to figure out. Obviously, there's a lot of hurdles to get there, as we experienced last time with the Fire phone.
One of the things that was interesting in the Reuters report to this point was that it may be more of a companion device to your existing phone. And at first I was thinking, well, that's kind of lame, because I was thinking about it through the framing of a phone. But what if it is more of a companion device?
Well, I read it as a companion device to your Amazon life.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I was taking it, the integration with a lot of the Amazon services. But the app ecosystem is a little antiquated.
Yes.
Like, you have to go, I have to look through my phone, I got to find this app, I got to launch it, then I got to interact with it in a certain way. And so the big bet here is, gosh, I go to my phone and I speak to it, you're probably using Alexa, right?
Yes.
And say, oh, that book I read 2 weeks ago on the Civil War, is there anything similar to that would be a great companion or follow-up? Ship it to me. And I mean, that's on the shopping side, but you can imagine this, and I know this has been the example that's been brought up, but like Grubhub or a DoorDash, that you're just like, instead of opening that app, putting an order in, you just speak to your phone and say, order me sushi today.
Well, and this is where Alexa Plus is already headed on existing Amazon devices, and this is possible. But I just went back and looked. So I did read that correctly. From the Reuters piece, Amazon has explored positioning a simpler version of the device, so like a lower end version of the device, as a second handset that customers would carry alongside their existing iPhone or Galaxy phones.
It's
not a replacement.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was just listening to a little bit of the Vergecast podcast, and they did a history on the Fire phone, kind of looking back at it. And one of the interesting things that stood out to me in that show was they were talking at the time, and we should say this was kind of the baby of Jeff Bezos, the Fire phone. He really wanted to do this. But they were saying there were two internal teams within Amazon at the time, one of which wanted to go like really low cost and kind of like that companion device, like maybe it was a second phone, but a low cost phone. And then there was a group that wanted to go really high end and pack it with all these features. And that's the one that won and failed.
Interesting.
And it was one was codenamed Duke and one was codenamed Otis.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so anyway, we should link to the show because this is a really good history of the Fire phone. But to me, I think that makes sense. Then you're not necessarily taking on the iPhone directly. You're getting a secondary device that's going to allow you to do certain things, and then maybe over time it supplants the iPhone is the idea.
Maybe, yes. And it sounds like there could be two versions in this case. So maybe they're kind of splitting the difference between the debate that they had in the past with both a high-end version and then something that's simpler. And it's kind of like a A/B test in some ways. Maybe they put them both out there and the low-end version takes off and they go, okay, that's the one we're doubling down on. I kind of like that approach. For me, from a bigger picture standpoint, historically, it's fascinating to see the person who's leading this effort, Jay Allard.
Yeah, because you know him. So talk about why this is interesting, why this is a project that you think lines up with his personality.
Yeah, and to say I know him is a bit of a stretch. I've covered him over the years. I've talked to him a number of times in person and messaged with him. I know of him, but he's certainly not somebody that I've had long conversations with like I have some other Microsoft execs and former Microsoft execs. So he is somebody who has taken big bets, many big bets over the years in the realm of devices, Xbox, Zune, and there was a project that he was involved in that was a skunkworks project in Pioneer Square called the Courier tablet. And it was
right. I remember when you wrote about this.
Yeah, it was like a clamshell device. You know who really covered this extremely well was a journalist that we know who's now retired, Jay Green. Jay Green was all over the Courier story. Yeah. And getting scoops left and right. He was either at Business Week or CNET. I can't remember exactly where he was, or the Post at that moment in time. I miss Jay. Do you still see him out and about?
I haven't seen him for a little while. Yeah. He's often in the neighborhood. So
maybe somebody out there will hear this and point Jay to this podcast because
he was deep on the Courier.
Yes,
and it was interesting too because they were kind of this skunkworks thing.
It's very similar
in Pioneer Square, away from the Redmond campus and the Microsoft mothership,
and it ultimately got killed. And I think it might have been Steve Ballmer that killed it. Now, it got killed before it was launched. This was never launched. And of course, the Zune, Microsoft's music player, its answer to the iPod.
It lasted less than, this would be the good trivia question. Which lasted fewer days, the Zune or the Fire phone? I actually don't know.
Let's figure that out.
Yeah, okay. Let me quiz you. Which one do you think it is? I think the Zune was fewer days. The Fire phone was out for like, what, 14 months?
No, the Fire phone was out. Okay. How long we got to, now we have to answer this. Okay.
We have to dive into this, yeah.
Okay, how would you do this? Would you just Google it? How long?
I would go to one of your favorite
how long was the Fire phone on the market, and how did that compare to the Zune?
What are you using to do this?
I'm using Google AI overview.
Okay, because I use ChatGPT.
What does ChatGPT say?
This says Zune launched 2006. Hardware discontinued 2011. Oh, yeah.
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. Oh, I'm way off.
Fire phone was on the market for 14 months.
Yeah, gosh.
You kind of got to credit Amazon there for recognizing that it had a turd on its hand.
That's true.
And getting rid of it. So
well, okay. So anyway, Jay Allard. Any other?
Yes.
Final thoughts on him?
I want to say that the Courier was killed, as I said, before it was even launched, and I think that might have been a Ballmer thing. And in many ways, I don't know how old Jay is at this point. What a scintillating podcast. He's 57.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he started as a real young kid.
Yeah.
Jay was very early. He figured into some of our Microsoft F50 coverage. He was the person who basically said to Microsoft and Bill Gates, over here, the internet. I mean, like, that's how far back he goes. And he wrote some like really landmark internal memos. So he's been around. He's 57 years old. This, to me, is Jay Allard's last chance. It is his shot at redemption for all the projects that he's worked on that have not gone as well as he might have wanted, that maybe didn't even launch in some cases. Now, he was involved in Xbox.
That might be overstating it, because who knows, he might be working on several other projects, and this is just one of many things he's working on.
And by the way, he's done lots of interesting, fascinating things in his career. He did something down in Portland related to the theft of bikes. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
So we're way beyond our skis at this point. Yeah. But that's my hot take. If I were writing the BuzzFeed hot take, that's what I would say. Jay Allard's last chance.
Okay, so Todd, let's rewind.
Yes.
To the old Fire phone back in 2014.
Yes.
I mean, you used it. I think you bought one, didn't you?
I did have one, yes.
And we should say we used to have one in our lovely library in the GeekWire offices until we had a break-in. And it was one of the things stolen on
the second or third break-in, I
Somebody
think.
stole our Fire phone, god dang it.
I know. That would be so amazing to have.
It would be really nice to have right now. We could reference it. But anyway, why did the Fire phone not work?
It was a bunch of features in search of customers. And I think it was one of the few situations where Amazon did not live up to its true mantra of starting with the customer and working backwards. I think the team that had the idea of doing the simple phone, the basic phone, a budget device, had the right idea. And I'll bet you they were basing that on customer feedback. The stuff that
then Bezos got involved and said he wanted a packet full of everything that he wanted.
It was like this sort of like dynamic resolution thing where you could see things in 3D.
What was it called? It was a 3D element, I remember.
Depending on where you tilted it, it was like you could scan things and have it recognize products that you could then order. I mean, it was like, really, who is going to use that? Who's going to do that? And who cares? Who cares? And ultimately, the answer was nobody.
Yes.
So that, to me, is the story of the Fire phone. And Amazon would hold it up as an example of learning a lesson. Whether they actually did or not, I guess we're about to find out. Maybe.
I'm sure they learned a lesson. Yes, I don't think they're going to repeat the same mistakes they made in the first version of the Fire phone.
Yes.
What are the chances they actually call it Fire phone?
They're not going to call it this Fire phone. It's going to be the Transformer.
You think that's the actual name of it?
I think it might be. It's not the worst product name in the world. And it kind of has a little bit of an AI reference, generative pre-trained transformer, GPT. It's kind of got a little bit of an industry insider. In fact, that name, now that I think about it in and of itself, signals that this is all about AI.
Yeah, 100%.
So this is a fascinating development. Props to Reuters for breaking this story. We got on the thread early with the Jay Allard story. I should have stuck with it,
You
man.
should have kept asking him what he was working on. I'm sure he would have just told you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Well, hey, coming up next, continuing with the Microsoft theme, I want to talk a little bit about Copilot. I want to talk about Claude Cowork and our transit experiences here in Seattle, how they're changing and how it compares to your recent
And
experiences.
don't forget trivia is coming up.
Final segment, our GeekWire Trivia Challenge. So stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Todd Bishop here with John Cook. Microsoft this week finally did something to right the wrongs of its Copilot team. They made a big restructuring announcement. Mustafa Suleyman, who came in to run Microsoft's consumer AI business, is now really, I think he's being demoted. They didn't use that word, but he's being shifted to run frontier AI models and superintelligence. They're bringing in Jacob Andrew, who was previously at Snap, to kind of run a unified Copilot team. And this is really where I think the news is. Microsoft is unifying the teams behind its consumer and its enterprise AI tools, Copilot. And it just fits this pattern for me of Microsoft over the years trying to do cute consumer technology, things that just don't work, and not sticking to its enterprise technology strength, its roots. And I'm hoping that this new Copilot team, for me as a user, because I'm using Edge, I'm using Copilot in addition to all the other tools, I'm hoping they can realize that people in this new world of AI are not looking for cute characters like that dumb Miko thing that they announced last year, this kind of amorphous cartoon character that was kind of like the AI incarnation or reincarnation of Clippy. And it's like, in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking, how many times does Microsoft have to learn this lesson? Bob, Clippy, Tay, that sort of rogue AI thing.
Yeah, that didn't last long.
It didn't last long. And now Miko. And I cannot imagine like what goes through their mind. Like, let's do it again, people. Let's come up with some character. Everybody's going to love it. Yes, sure, it's the same technology that everybody has, but it's a cute character. Let's put it out there. And to me, that was kind of the symbol of what Mustafa brought to the Copilot team, was this notion of kind of dumbing down this really strong, really effective AI tool that they had. I loved the original Copilot sidebar in Microsoft Edge before the former Inflection team came into Microsoft, led by Mustafa Suleyman, and kind of turned it into this cute little consumer. Yeah, I'm hoping that this is the start of a new era of real technology, real application and utility for Microsoft's Copilot team. End rant.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that was special.
I will ask you this though, John. Are you using agents at all? Are you finding? Have you
Not
tried?
really.
Have you tried
No,
Claude Cowork?
no.
Yeah.
Are you?
I've got myself into a little trouble lately.
Oh, okay.
I know. It's like story time this week.
Yeah.
I apologize
Yeah,
out there,
yeah.
everybody. I'll shut up eventually.
You need a therapy session.
I did.
Todd,
Yes.
tell me what happened.
So Claude Cowork, I've started to use it a lot. And I kind of hesitate to bring this up, but I realized when I was pulling some data from LinkedIn this week that we were using in the course of some reporting and site features and that sort of thing, that all of the browsing I was doing to go to company profiles and pull insights from the Insight tab, and I needed to pull a series of numbers from LinkedIn. And I was like, wait a second, why am I doing this browsing? Why can't I just tell Claude Cowork, with control over my browser in Chrome and access to the spreadsheet where I was collecting this data, to do it for me? 10 minutes later, Claude was doing it for me.
So just to explain this, it was going out to various company websites
And LinkedIn profiles.
And pulling some sort of data.
Yeah, employment growth.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying. I was trying to collect employment growth to get some insights into that for a feature that we have. And I was like, this is amazing.
And it was working.
And it was working. It was working terrifically. And so I said to myself, well, why not do 3 tabs simultaneously? And Claude said to me, great idea. Let's do it.
And by 3 tabs simultaneously, what do you mean?
So Claude was going simultaneously to 3 LinkedIn profiles.
3 different company.
Yes.
Oh.
And doing it. And so then I started to think to myself,
why not do 10,000?
I said, not quite that far. I said, why not do 5?
Yeah.
Why not do 5?
Yeah.
And it was interesting, actually. I reached the limit of Claude's browsing capabilities because the data was not accurate. It wasn't able to accurately collect the data across 5
So you essentially
tabs.
were setting up your own personal crawler of these sites.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. For reporting purposes. And, you know, I have to say that's one of the most interesting things about LinkedIn for me. If you have a premium subscription, it's the Insights tab. They collect some really interesting information about companies on there. And frankly, not only for reporters and researchers, but for job seekers. If you can afford the premium or you can do a trial or whatever, to be able to go onto the Insights tab for a company you're researching, I mean, it shows you employment growth. It shows you different characteristics of their workforce. Super interesting. So I got up to 5. I went back down to 3. I finished my research. I logged off for the night. I came back the next morning and I was logged out of LinkedIn. I was like, what? That's weird.
The LinkedIn police showed up.
I logged back in and they told me, we have detected that you
unusual activity
are using automated tools to browse LinkedIn. And we'd like you to acknowledge and review our terms of service and tell us in the affirmative that you will no longer do this. And if not, there will be repercussions.
Oh. And what did your agent say on your behalf?
Claude said, we've got to be more careful next time.
Did it really?
Yes. Yes. I uploaded it.
That is crazy.
Well, this is the
isn't
way
it?
I love to use the AI. I kind of start to treat it like an actual colleague. And so I said, I uploaded the image. I've got it up right here. And I said,
yeah, we pushed the limit a little too much, didn't we?
I said, well, crap. And I uploaded the image. And Claude said, yeah, LinkedIn caught on to us. That's the automation detection warning. All those page visits in rapid succession triggered it. You'll want to click agree to comply to get your account back in good standing. Sorry about that. Something to keep in mind for next time. We could space out the requests or do smaller batches across sessions to stay under the radar.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Helping me violate the LinkedIn terms of service.
Yeah.
I want to state for the record on this podcast, because I know actually, based on some conversations, that people at LinkedIn might listen to this podcast. Never again will I do this. And never was I aware consciously, maybe I should have known, but I didn't know it was a violation of the terms of service. So just to absolve myself, John.
Wow.
Can you imagine
crazy.
In our position losing access to your LinkedIn account?
That's pretty important.
That'd be suicide, career-wise and reporting-wise. It's really interesting, actually. Could you do your job the same without LinkedIn?
No, it's become super important. And I'm finding there's just so much, for what we do, business conversation, business news, business chatter. I've really moved to LinkedIn to, in terms of the social network that I spend the most time with, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting that it's owned by Microsoft. You know, I've done some digging into the LinkedIn financials. There's a little bit of the LinkedIn financials in Microsoft's reporting. For example, I was able to report back in January that LinkedIn topped $5 billion in quarterly revenue for the first time.
Well, for journalists, LinkedIn is a gold mine.
It is. It is. Just in terms of the information that flows through there, especially business journalists. It is something that you could not live without. So
you're back in good standing.
I am, and I better not do that again. No matter what Claude tells me. Okay, there's one other thing. I've been not driving my car this week because we're down to being a one-car family. And I will occasionally jump in an Uber if I'm late for an appointment, but man, I feel kind of guilty doing that. It's expensive in Seattle.
Super expensive.
Just to get from Fremont to downtown, I mean, it can be 40, 50 bucks
It's
before
ridiculous.
tip.
I've stopped using.
Yeah.
It's too expensive.
So I'm on the bus. I'm on the bus when I can, especially from home. You know, I try and map out my day. And I got to say, I've had so many problems lately. Maybe it's like Mercury in retrograde or something. I don't know what it is. I actually asked Alexa that once when I was having a tech problem, and she said, no, that's not the issue, sir. Anyway, the Transit Go app that is used by King County Metro and a couple of the other transit agencies here in the Seattle region is awful. It's absolutely awful. Half the time it declines my credit card. And this is the one where you go in, you buy a pass, and then it creates like a little dynamic screen that you can show the driver, the bus driver, when you get in.
Right. It's an alternative to the Orca card, correct?
It is. It's a little bit of a hack, a little bit of an app. And I've been struggling with that thing for, months, frankly, whenever I try to ride the bus.
Because you just can't get it to activate when you're getting on the bus to show them the pass?
No,
or what?
the biggest problem is getting it to accept my credit cards.
Oh, yeah.
I've even I've deleted all of them. I've reset it. I've uninstalled and reinstalled the app. I've tried all sorts of things, and it works for a while, and then suddenly it stops working. So I realized, and we reported on this, that King County Metro and perhaps others has come out with a honest to goodness tap to pay. In other words, all you do is call up your Apple Pay or your Android Pay, and just like you would do in the grocery store checkout.
Yeah. Or your credit card that you have.
Or your credit card.
That you
Yes.
have in your digital wallet.
Yes, exactly. Right. Or your actual credit card in your physical wallet too. I mean, it works with that too as a tap to pay.
Correct.
All you do is you do that, you get on and you tap it against the sensor, and it automatically charges you for the adult fare. And here's the cool thing. It remembers that your card was registered. So it gives you the standard 2-hour grace period. In other words, like I forget the phrase, but the little slip that they give you where you're able to go back.
Transfer slip.
Transfer slip, yes. So you don't get charged again if you tap again within the next 2 hours. It's really slick.
You're so amazed, aren't you, Todd?
No, you've had a different experience.
Well, I just returned from London, as you know, and took the tube all over the place. Todd, this technology has been in place in London on the tube for 12 years. Okay, so it's not like we're I think it's really cool. It's about time, because you know what I used to do when I rode the bus? Because I didn't have the app that you're speaking of, because I didn't even know it existed.
Dollar bills?
I would go and find quarters and dollar bills, and I would put them into
Is that even possible anymore? I'm not even sure if they allow that.
Well, now with the new system, I don't know if they're getting rid of it. But yeah, up until, I don't know, the last time I rode the bus, a few weeks ago, it was available.
So you still do this?
Well, until this and Pilot gets rolled out to the entire fleet, which I think is happening.
I think
this month, right?
I think it's out.
It's already in existence in all King County Metro buses.
No, I don't know that.
Okay,
but
I hope so.
It is on the ones I'm on, on the 40.
Great, because this is a long time coming. Because there would be times I would be downtown and I wanted to take the bus back, and because I just don't carry cash.
Yeah,
and I didn't have any cash, and I didn't have the app, and I didn't have an Orca card, and I'm like, I can't use public transit.
Yes. I had that exact thing, but it happened because the Transit Go app wouldn't accept my credit cards.
I think what you could just say is, hey, the Transit Go app's not working, and the bus driver is going to let you on.
Yes. However, I did
really
that.
Care,
they don't care. Although I've noticed that some of them do, and I'm just cautious enough that I don't want to get into an argument. I have done that a couple times when I was genuinely like, I got to get home. I can't get this thing to work. I have no other option.
Yeah.
But there was a time last week when I ended up walking a number of blocks into a cheaper Uber zone.
Oh, jeez.
So I saved like $10 off of the 50.
Well, it is about time. And, a big reason why they're doing this.
It's just in time for
the World Cup.
Absolutely.
Because people that do travel through Europe have been doing this for more than a decade. And they're going to get here and they're going to say, Orca card, what's that? What's the name of the app? The
Transit Go.
Transit Go. They're going to have zero idea. They're going to want to put their credit card on the machine, tap and go, and not think about it. It is so easy, and it's the way it should be.
Now, speaking of transportation, You know what's coming up, I think, on March 28th?
Sound Transit. Light rail from Redmond to
Seattle, across the lake.
Finally across the lake. Finally.
Yes. I was talking with
It's
somebody.
It's going to be a big deal.
It is a big deal, especially for tech workers and the people who need to get across from Microsoft to Amazon. I mean,
especially for us living in Ballard when we have to wait until 2085 for it to
is it
arrive.
2085?
I don't know. No, I think it's a little sooner than that. But I was exaggerating a bit, but probably when it arrives to our neighborhood.
I still got the car tab from my license plate when the monorail was on there. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
When all that money we put into the monorail extension to get from West Seattle to Ballard. Wasn't that the idea?
Yeah, not an important route.
No, but just imagine if that had happened, and then at least that would connect to downtown. But more to the point, I think this could be a game changer for some tech workers, especially those who live on the east side and who work at Amazon with Amazon's 5-day-a-week policy.
And those who live in Seattle and work at Microsoft out in Redmond.
Yes. It is a little bit inconvenient for people on the north end of the city in that it goes over I-90 and you've got to, although if you live in Northgate, you could go straight down the line and I guess you got to transfer. Well, I actually don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know if there's going to be a line that goes across directly from Northgate without a transfer. These are things that we will find out in the next week or so as this thing rolls out. All right, John, jumping in here after the fact, because we happened to be in the office on Friday after we originally recorded this segment, and our podcast editor, Curt Milton, gave me a hard time for the things that we just said moments ago. So this is Todd from the future jumping in to correct Todd from the past.
Good. We should do this all the time.
Curt says, hey, you two, yes, the 2 line will take you from Northgate to Redmond without transferring.
Okay, good to know.
And Curt also had a good recommendation. Follow Henry Benden on Instagram at Henry On Board. He's the PIO for Sound Transit. His videos are fun and super informative about what's going on with the light rail system, according to Curt.
Okay, I'm glad we got fact-checked on that.
All right, back to the conversation. So, yeah, it's exciting. It's the first time a light rail has gone across a floating bridge. What could go wrong?
Well, things already went wrong. That's why we're so behind schedule on it.
Yeah, I have talked to some folks who take the bus from Bellevue to downtown Seattle, and there's a question at least over whether it's going to be faster to get on the light rail.
And that raises the question, do you think we'll see companies like Microsoft start to phase out their connector bus service?
Great question. Good story idea.
Good story idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they'll just say, we support the transportation infrastructure that they've put money into, their employees have put money into, the entire citizenry of Washington State have put money into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Okay. Up next.
Trivia.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
This is GeekWire's Trivia Challenge.
Wouldn't you prefer a good game of chess?
All right. Welcome back. Yes, that's right. It is time for the GeekWire Trivia Challenge. My favorite segment of the week. I love coming up with this.
Hit me. I'm ready.
Okay. So, John, I feel a little bit sheepish about this because it's the second time I'm going back to the same well of inspiration for the trivia contest. And I just want to acknowledge up front that, yes, a few weeks ago, one of the first trivia questions was also inspired by the podcast Learn and Be Curious by Doug Harrington, the CEO of Amazon Worldwide Stores. But as you'll hear, John, the topic was so on point and so much in line with something that we've covered over the years that I couldn't help myself. The second episode of Learn and Be Curious came out this week. I was listening to it, and Doug Harrington revealed that he was, in fact, the person who wrote the original PRFAQ, the Amazon 6-page document, envisioning the treasure truck.
Oh, great. What a genius.
The treasure truck, as you know, John, and as
one of my favorite Amazon stories and
of
products of all time. It really is.
It was a roaming deal of the day truck. It started in Seattle. We covered this thing.
We loved it. We gave this so much ink.
We covered this
we
so
really did.
thoroughly that Brad Stone, in his book Amazon Unbound, credited our coverage and all the scoops we broke on the treasure truck. It was either, I think it was Unbound or the Everything Store.
It was between this and the Amazon lockers. I
Yes.
think that we are probably our proudest moments of Amazon coverage.
So this was a truck that would just sort of show up on random street corners. If you subscribed to their text alerts, you would get the text alert, and it would be like a deal of the day. Like, we're selling one thing at a crazy discount. I think
We got $3 basketballs.
Exactly. They had stand-up paddle boards, all sorts of things. Okay, so here's the question. It is informed by Doug Harrington's podcast, Learn and Be Curious, episode 2, which is all about same-day delivery. Really a good episode, by the way, for anybody who follows Amazon or buys stuff from Amazon. Amazon's treasure truck, the roaming deal of the day truck that operated in cities across the U.S., started as kind of a different concept inside Amazon. What product did Amazon's leadership team originally envision the truck selling? A, firewood. B, rotisserie chickens. C, steak. D, Christmas trees. Or E, pizza.
I think I know it.
I think you do.
Yeah.
I think you do. What do you think?
I didn't need the multiple choice.
Yes.
I think it is a nice T-bone steak.
Yes, the answer is C, steak. The original idea discussed among Amazon's S team, the senior leadership team, was to load a truck with as much steak as it could carry, drive it down the street honking the horn, and have people run out to buy it. Jeff Bezos finally had heard enough of this, and he sent an email asking somebody to turn the, quote, steak truck idea into a PR FAQ, and Doug Harrington volunteered.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You know, it does speak to this larger concept that Amazon has either tried to push the envelope on, or even, I would say, even struggled with, and has had fits and starts. It is this idea about having some sort of physical retail component trying to get much closer to their customer, which, I mean, we've seen now that they've shut down some of their, it was the Amazon Go stores.
Yes.
Or it's Amazon Go
Go,
stores.
Amazon
And they're
Fresh.
consolidating with Whole Foods, which they had purchased, which was part of this. But they've had, you know, there's the Amazon lockers, which we had mentioned. There are all sorts of things they have tried in this arena. And obviously a company that's tried a lot of things and failed. And they're still, seem to me, trying to crack the nut on how to do the physical connection and simpler connection to their customer. Are they going to get there?
Yes. Well, I will say two things. One, if you're interested in this topic, our colleague Curt Schlosser wrote this week about a new initiative that Amazon is rolling out as part of its same-day delivery, 1 hour and 3 hour delivery options. And the idea is that you pay about $10 for 1 hour delivery, $5 for 3 hour delivery. This is for Prime members, and the prices are higher for people without Prime. And if you're interested in this topic, this is exactly the topic that Doug Harrington talked about on his podcast this week with one of the executives who oversees this program. And his point on the treasure truck specifically was they realized that for all the novelty and the fun of the treasure truck with the, you know, the bubble.
Yeah, it was a
machine,
weird-looking vehicle.
It was,
That's just-
it was
that's
very
awesome.
kitschy. The idea was it was supposed to be like an ice cream truck for adults, right? Except
Yeah.
it wasn't ice cream. It was
Steak.
steak. Yes.
Yeah.
And they realized, and the reason they killed it, he said, eventually was people just want stuff on their doorstep. That was the fundamental challenge. And it's not about the experience so much as it is about the convenience. And I think they've learned that lesson over and over again. And when they've tried to kind of, you know, turn it into something whimsical, it doesn't necessarily work.
Well, it goes back to your comments about Microsoft
Yes.
being whimsical with all of their
Yes.
little friendly Tays and Mikos and Bobs. And
Yes.
maybe it just doesn't work for these companies when they try to have a little bit of fun.
Yes. Yeah.
They're just not fun.
Well, I think they can be fun, but I think consumers just want something that works and that
Well, the treasure
serves
truck
their purpose.
worked.
It works.
People,
Sure.
people,
Well,
people. There were people that really loved the deal because they were good deals
they
too.
were good
That was
deals.
the thing.
Yes, I think I
Yeah.
still have a cheap Kindle Fire tablet in the back of my drawer someplace that I got for like $20. $30 at most off of that. And I agree. That said, I think people want utility and convenience and value first.
Yes,
and if
more than
yes,
fun and whimsical.
yes,
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Just give me my batteries.
exactly.
I don't need to chase it down the
Exactly.
street with the truck honking.
And that is the idea behind this 1 and 3 hour delivery, is just these scenarios. And we tested it a few weeks ago on the podcast, the half-hour delivery that they're doing in Seattle and Philadelphia. The idea that, you're packing for a trip, you're making dinner, you can't really run out to the store to get a power adapter or the last ingredient that you need. And you've got this service that can just bring something to your doorstep, much like Cosmo.com.
Cosmo.com, yeah.
Everything
Rest in
old,
peace.
Everything old is new again.
When are the drones going to show up delivering it?
They're still at it. They're
Are
still
they?
at it, but it's just, yeah, I mean, they're doing it in their test markets. So thanks for listening, everybody. Curt Milton edited this episode. Until next time, I'm Todd Bishop.
And I'm John Cook
We'll see you March 24th.
at the GeekWire Agents of Transformation AI Summit.
And we'll be back next week with a new episode of the GeekWire podcast.